Okay, it is Thursday, the 10th of September. I'm taking a look at my Twitter account. It's actually my own Twitter account I'm looking at this time. It's just something different I'm doing in terms of having a look at what's going on and bits and pieces of law, bits and pieces of business, bits and pieces of commentary perhaps, and so on. This is something I'm doing, it's something different, bit of a departure for me, but that's what I'm going to do in this video. So, warnings and performance related problems in the workplace. Have you been put on a PIP? Is it the long goodbye? Not necessarily. You can learn more about performance improvement plans on either my website employmentrightsIreland.com or businessandlegal.ie. Obviously, being put on a PIP is not a great sign though, and it may well be the case that the relationship between the employee and the employer is coming to an end. Now, employers will tell you that PIPs are a performance improvement tool and they are there to allow employees reach a particular standard, and they're there as an assist and as a sort of a support for employees. But a lot of performance improvement plans, let's face it, end in tears for the employee, and it's not a great sign for the employee. Buying property at auction. If you're thinking about buying property at auction, you need to be careful. You need to carry out all your due diligence, your checks, your surveys before the auction, not after. It's too late afterwards, quite frankly. Because if you don't do that before the auction, then you're going to find yourself in difficulty. I've written about this a few times, and I have a video on my YouTube channel about buying property at auction and about the significant difference between buying at auction and buying by private treaty. There is a world of difference, so you need to be very careful. I have a YouTube live stream then this Saturday the 12th of September at 12 noon. I'm going to be discussing everything to do with property, small business, employment, all aspects of Irish law, and so on and so forth. You can ask me anything. That's not to say that I'm going to answer anything, but you can ask anything. I'll do my best. Capital acquisitions tax. Capital acquisitions tax includes inheritance tax and gift tax. The gift of a site, for example, from a parent to a child, which is very common in Ireland, is an example where capital acquisitions tax and indeed capital gains tax may well be a factor. So if you are the lucky recipient of a gift, such as a site for a house or something of that nature, then you definitely need to be careful about the tax situation. If you're getting it from a parent, quite frankly, the value of the site is not going to touch anywhere near the boundaries of your capital acquisitions tax exemption. However, if you're getting a gift of a site from an uncle or an aunt, for example, then the degree of relationship is such that the tax-free exemption won't be nearly as large. In fact, it may only be it is only a percentage of the exemption in respect of a gift from a parent. So you need to be careful there. It's very small from an uncle or an aunt, and if you get a gift of a site and it's got planning permission, well then there may well be tax implications there. Now obviously the smart thing to do is to get the site gifted to you first, and then you go and obtain the planning permission. So you're going to add the value after you get the gift, not before it. But that's something you need to be careful about. So that's capital acquisitions tax. I posted a video there, or a bit of an extract of a video about bare or simple trusts. So it looks at trusts and how they are a tax efficient way to provide for children. The ownership of an asset is held by one person for the benefit of a different person. So you have a nominal or a legal owner and you have a beneficial owner. Again, I have a video there on my website or on my YouTube channel about trusts and about bare or simple trusts, if that sort of thing floats your boat. I tweeted there about the banded hours contract situation, then the changes that came about thanks to the Employment Miscellaneous Provision Act of 2018, where 0 hours contracts were supposed to be outlawed, quite frankly, or in effect, and then the whole question of, or the whole area of banded hours contracts was introduced. This was to protect and give some protection for the likes of so-called precarious work and people involved in so-called precarious work. So banded hours contracts 2019, yeah, that's the video, and it's on my YouTube channel. I tweeted there as well about lots of people having a dream of buying a rural property in Ireland, and I posted a video, a link to a video on my YouTube channel, and a short extract of the video on Twitter. The video looks at a few critical things that you need to check if you are buying a rural property, and if your rural idyll is not to become a very expensive money pit. There is a few things you need to check: boundaries, septic tank, sewerage, water, services, roads being in charge, and so on. So again, there's a video there on my YouTube channel. I also looked there or tweeted about the new insolvency, personal insolvency arrangements and other debt options. So recently in Trim Circuit Court, a nurse successfully raised or resisted a possession application by the lender thanks to the successful application of one of these debt options. A friend of mine, another solicitor, acted for the lady in question, and he had obviously the benefit of a good PIP and counsel and so on, but they got the value of the house written down to they got a significant write down in the value of the house, and the lady is entitled and allowed to stay in possession thanks to a courtesy of the personal insolvency arrangement. So that is something that I don't think people are actually using enough in terms of dealing with the various debts that may have hanging over them for the last number of years. Then I tweeted about proprietary and promissory estoppel. It's a useful, equitable relief in land disputes. These reliefs might come to the rescue of a person who has relied on the promise of a parent or a grandparent or an uncle or an aunt, for example, and has subsequently been disappointed. So you might have a lad or a lassie working their arse off, quite frankly, in a bit of ground, in a bit of a land, and told that, one day this will be yours, and they work really hard for 10, 15, 20 years, and then for whatever reason the promise isn't delivered and the land is not theirs, the land goes to somebody else. Then in that situation, if the person who has given up a lot of other things to work on the land and in reliance on the promise, then they may have an equitable relief open to them by way of either a promissory or proprietary estoppel action. It's an equitable relief. The Bar of Ireland there, I see, had a tweet about John Temple BL considering some of the legal issues applying to Leaving Cert 2020. So the whole question of the Leaving Cert results 2020 and the way the grades were dished out and so on and so forth. Obviously there's legal issues probably going to arise, and that's looked at there on LinkedIn actually by John Temple BL. So if that sort of thing floats your boat, you're interested in it, head over there to LinkedIn. There's a tweet there obviously as well about the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland confirming that the UK is about to break international law. Have the people of the UK lost any capacity for outrage? I mean, obviously this is a serious situation where the UK, having signed up to a contract, are now reneging on it and basically ripping it up, which is an appalling circumstance, particularly when you consider that the UK Parliament is supposed to be the mother of parliaments and so on and so forth. The likes of John Major and other eminence grease, as it were, in the UK system are absolutely appalled at what Johnson is proposing to do. I myself don't believe they'll actually do it. I think it is a negotiating ploy, quite frankly. I think they will back off because it's an appalling situation. Imagine getting done for speeding or something in a UK court and going to court and saying that you were only guilty of a breach of the law in a very specific and limited way. I mean, it brings the whole question of a legal system and the whole question of the rule of law into question and into disrepute, quite frankly. You simply cannot, especially international sovereign countries, step away from or rip up contracts. Anyway, I have a consultation to do now, 2 consultations to do now. Hope you find this video useful. It's one I'm going to try in future. Commentary, as I say, on my Twitter feed and other stuff that I see there on Twitter. It's something that I intend doing. I would appreciate if you gave me some commentary down below, or some comments, and if you gave it the thumbs up or indeed a thumbs down, or whatever you think about it. As I say, it's a kind of a riff, a kind of a commentary that I intend doing, and obviously if people want me to do that, I'll do it, and if they don't, I don't. Okay, you might give it a thumbs up in any event. Thanks a lot.